Hi, everyone. Welcome to day 20 of the 26 Days to Greatness Challenge. Today, we have tea for time management with the one and only Jennifer Dawn. Jennifer is a whole life business coach. She's the founder of Best Journal Ever and Best Planner Ever. And she's also the author of The Joy Guide, Finding Your Joy in a Row of Crap. Totally love that title. Jennifer actually started her entrepreneurship journey like when she was really young, selling apples from her grandfather's tree, because as Jennifer puts it, lemonade stand was so yesterday. And Jennifer is also a serial entrepreneur who has built several multi-million-dollar businesses, and she loves to support motivated entrepreneurs, just like a lot of you listening right now, on how to master their goals, develop a successful mindset, and to build remarkable businesses and lives through whole life productivity and coaching. So with that being said, I am super fired up and excited to have you on here, Jennifer. Thank you so much for being on here today.
Oh, you're so welcome. I'm so excited to be here.
Yay, so let's jump in right away. I would love for our listeners to get to know you a little bit. So Jennifer, why don't you share with us about who you are? How did you get to where you're at today?
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for that beautiful introduction. It's true. I was a little bit of a stinker as a kid because I was just like, I'm not doing a lemonade stand. There was just something that just inside of me was like, no, all the kids do that. I got to do something different. And it was, now looking back, I realized it was probably one of my best businesses because I didn't have to pay for my inventory. I just picked it off the tree. I didn't have to share my profits. I didn't have to pay anybody. And my grandfather was a chiropractor, and so his office was attached to the house. And so he just had this steady stream of patients coming in. And there I am, this cute kid with my little apple stand, and I cleaned up. I did good. It was probably my favorite business. But I was just kind of born with that entrepreneurial bug. I think that's part of it, was seeing my grandparents as I was growing up, because they were very instrumental in my life, and watching them, one, be healers and help people, which I think was fantastic. And two, working from the home and having, a business and a life kind of together. I thought that was just really, really fascinating. And so as I grew up, I had other little businesses in high school. I had a little cake decorating business. And of course I would babysit and do things to earn money. I always just loved the idea of, having an idea or providing something and getting paid for it. I thought that was just fantastic. And when I was 23, I started my first, we'll call it, official company. It was a software company. And that was my first company that I did grow to 7 figures, a lot of hard work and trial and error, lots and lots of mistakes. Back then, you didn't have the resources that we have access to today. Even just this wasn't happening, 20, 25 years ago, however long it was. And like coaches weren't a thing, and just the resources for growing a business were not what they are today. So it was just a whole lot of, figuring it out and working many, many, many hours. And so from there, after 13 years, I wanted something different, and I sold my shares of the company. And I actually went on to buy a log home company because I wanted to do something completely different outside software. And that was the same year that the real estate industry just completely bottomed out. So within a year, I had opened and closed my doors. So that was my sad story. But I learned a lot from that experience. So I'm not unhappy about it, but it was hard. And from there, I went into corporate. And because I was kind of disillusioned, if you had a business, you know what that can feel like, where you're just a little disillusioned with being a business owner. And you're like, you know what, let me just try a steady check for a while. So I became the software division president for a big $54 million manufacturing company. They bought a software company. They had no idea what to do with it. And so I came in and was their division president. And while I was there, grew another company to 7 figures. But the corporate, after a few years, the corporate was like, yeah, this isn't working for me either. So I left and went out on my own. And from there, I was asked to mentor a national network of women entrepreneurs based out of New York City. And I loved the work. I absolutely loved using all my hard-earned knowledge and experience to help other business owners. It was so gratifying. And it was really there that I really stumbled into, almost accidentally, my love of coaching and helping others. And so from there, I started my own practice. And then a few years later, I started the planner, the best planner ever, because of T. Today is T, time management. And time, right? It's our most valuable asset. We can always make more money, but we can't really make more time. And so I'm just a huge fan of time, love making the most of it. And so that's me. So now I have the planner company, and then I'm also a coach.
Oh, I love it. Thank you so much for sharing that, Jennifer. And I cannot imagine at 23, you were able to build like a 7-figure business. I'm 25 now. So I'm like thinking when I was 23, I don't even remember what I was doing back then. But like you said, such a good point about how now we have so many resources literally on our fingertips, just completely free, completely online that we can tap into, so we can really fast track that success story way faster by learning from people like you. And I'm so honored to have like experts like you who I can pick your brain and to also serve the audience, so they can, you know, really have all your years and years of your experience packaged into this 30 minutes, 45 minutes long interview, and then they can implement right away. So let's jump straight into the implementation piece, because I'm so excited about learning about like time management. Because personally for me, Jennifer, this is something that I struggle with so much at the beginning of my journey. I don't know if that's true for you. Like, did you personally struggle with like time management when you first started as like an entrepreneur?
Yeah, you know, I would say my struggle was more on the side of working too many hours. That was really my struggle, is that I would put off my personal life. I would put off time with my kids. I would put, you know, off exercise, my own health. Like, those are the things that I would kind of back burner so that I could work more hours in the business. So that was really the struggle. I never had a problem making a list or crossing things off of it or getting things done or being driven or motivated or anything like that. Like, in fact, that sometimes actually I have to rein it back in these days. That's my challenge, is like, wait a second. It's really easy for me to just get caught up and just want to work all the time. If you're the flip of that and you're just like, I don't really know what to do, I don't really feel like I'm managing my time. It's just the opposite coin of the same problem, really. And it's just about really starting to get clear on where you want your time to go, but also having the whole picture. Okay, the whole picture. So, I mean, as business owners, we know that we need to work on our businesses. And it's one thing to, like, right now, people are watching and listening and learning, which is great. And so that's like passive action. Passive means that we're not creating, we're consuming. And so right now you're sitting here watching this, and that's fantastic. And I consume a lot of information too. So I read a lot of books. I do a lot of personal growth programs. In fact, I'm generally reading 1 to 2 books a week, and I'm always going through at least one personal growth program, always. And so but that's passive action. It's action and it's really important, but it's passive, because unless you then take that information and then do something with it, it doesn't really matter. It doesn't matter how much you know about time management. If you don't actually get in there and like start making changes to manage your time differently, that's where the results are going to come from. And I think that sometimes people are a little bit afraid to try something new because we're kind of afraid to fail. What is everybody going to think about us? And then we add being a business owner on top of that. We can be like egomaniacs. We're like, oh my God, what does everybody think? And I have to put on a big show, and I have to pretend to be, some big fancy business owner. And a lot of it tends to be BS. And so I'm like, check your ego. First of all, just chuck it out the door, get rid of it right now. Okay. Be willing to try and fail, but I'm going to use the word fail. The true definition of failure is simply, we didn't achieve the desired result. And think about this, when you're doing something new in business and you try something the first time, you're probably not going to get it exactly right. And so that's really the definition of failure, not all the other junk that we put on it. And so when we talk about taking massive action, it's about being willing to not get the desired result the first time out, but committing to keep going until we do get the desired result. That really is massive action. Okay, so we want to take what we've learned today and we want to commit to massive action. Now, massive action, the word massive, you got to be careful with that. That doesn't mean working yourself into the ground, grinding away, doing what I did, sacrificing your whole life. Like, that's not what I'm talking about. When I say massive, I'm talking about results. And so massive action for you might be 15 minutes a day. It might be 1 hour a day. But it's just continuing to take that forward action, implement what you've learned, try some new things until you get the desired result that you're after.
Wow, Jennifer, I'm so glad you put that that piece in and you put it together in such a way better way that I could have done it in terms of how to really transitioning from pure information to transformation, being a part of who we are. And that requires, and I love how you broke down massive actions, not just about like grinding and hustling, because I think that tends to be the norm for entrepreneurs to create results, but it's all about the forward action that you mentioned about how we can try again when something didn't work out, and then we can produce those desired outcome. So it's about like working smart, right? Having like a
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
most definitely working smart. One of my favorite, since this is time management, one of my favorite time management things is to say, carve out, if you're a business owner, carve out a piece of time every day. And maybe you work your way up to an hour. Don't make it like 4 hours. That's setting the bar way too high. You'll miss it. You'll feel like crap. You know, no, don't even go there. But maybe the goal is to work up to an hour. And so maybe you start with 30 minutes, maybe you start with 15 minutes, whatever that mark is. But what I love to do is I sit down and I say to myself, all right, I've got 1 hour to grow a fill in the blank for wherever you're at in business, to get to 6 figures, to get to $500,000, to get to 7 figures, right? I've got 1 hour a day to get to a 7-figure business. What am I going to do with that hour? And then that's what you work on. And again, you can start smaller with this, but it's changing your mindset around your time and getting very, very specific. And so when I sit down and I go, all right, I've got 1 hour to move my business to the next level, what am I going to do with it? It really requires me to think before I get busy. And then on the flip side, it also kind of narrows that focus. So now it's not like it'll take 10 hours to work on my business all day. It's like, oh, no. I've got other things, you know, and depending on where you're at in business, you have things to run your business, right? You're going to have time just in the day-to-day in the operations, but that one, I'm calling it an hour. It could be 30 minutes. It could be whatever. But in that 1 hour, that's time that you're working on the business. You're moving it forward. You're doing what I call an A task or A tasks. In my planner, they're your A's, and those A's are the things that maybe you're a little afraid to do. Maybe you might procrastinate, right? It's those phone calls. It's that automation. It's that pitching that client, whatever it is. But you know in your heart, it's going to get you to whatever your goal is. Those are your A tasks. And you want to make sure you're carving out some time every day. But I just love reframing it as, okay, I only have this amount of time. What am I going to do with it?
So Jennifer, question, I love everything you're sharing. So basically what you're saying is you want to, instead of like thinking all the things we got to do today, we want to break it down by chunks. So like this 30 minutes of my time, I'm going to focus on this one thing to move the needle forward. So would you be setting that intention at the top of every hour, or did you pre-plan ahead of time, like this hour I will do this? How does it work?
Great question. And I'm going to say, do it in the time that feels best for you. It doesn't have to be at the top of every hour. I generally am like for the day, if I've got 1 hour to get my business to the next level, what am I going to use that hour for? I like to knock those things out first, just because I'm fresher in the morning. Some people like to work in the evenings. I'm going to say, you know, a lot of time management people will tell you, oh, you got to do it right here. And I'm like, no, do it at the time when you have your best brain power. I'm a morning person. I can work at night, but I prefer not to. But I am fresh in the morning. I'm filled with ideas and energy. And so that's my time. And so I want to carve out whenever I can, like that first hour of the day when I'm freshest, before I've checked email, before I've put out any fires, before I've done any of that. That's when that time feels good to me. But I'm going to say carve it out for the best time. When you look at your day, when you have the best brain power, I would say use your best brain power for your highest priority items, right? We can all check emails and do, day-to-day tasks in our business on less than optimal brain power. We can totally do that, right? But we want to give our best brain power to that like time to the day that is our highest priority.
Okay, makes sense. Okay. So it's all about like kind of putting that laser focus and that one chunk of time to really move things forward, so that you can ensure that you create results in that day.
Right, exactly.
Okay. Got it.
Here's the thing though. You want to know where everybody's going to go, oh, but. So here's the thing. If you haven't taken the time to get a clear vision of what you want your business to look like, what you want your life to look like, it's going to be hard to know what to do in that time. And you're going to, by default, just fill that time with busy work. Those are the B tasks, things that you're going to do anyway. You're going to show up for the meeting. You're going to check your email. Like you're going to do those things. All right. And so we start thinking that's a high priority, an A task, but it really isn't, because it's all the busy work that we're going to do no matter what. But this is where people get stuck, because if they've not invested the time in a clear vision, right? Vision is, and I like to do a vision statement. So it's 1 or 2 pages. It's not 100 pages. It's 1 or 2 pages. And it just gets clarity on, this is what I want my business to look like. This is the kind of people I want to work with. These are the kind of clients I want to serve. This is what my product does. This is how I provide value to the world. This is what I want my salary to be, right? And then my social life, my love life, my health, my exercise, like all of these things. And I actually have a class that I walk people through, like all these different things where we just get clear on what should this look like. And we create a 1 or 2 page vision statement from it. Because if you sit down and you're like, what should I do with my time today? And you're not clear on your direction, which is your vision, you're just going to fill that time with busy work, just getting through the day stuff. And that's not what we want. So from the vision, so like, if you don't have a vision, like clearly outlined, that's your A task. That's your A task, is I'm going to spend time getting clear until you've gotten to a place where, yes, this feels really good. And the vision will change. Mine changes regularly, at least once or twice a month. I'm updating it. I'm not completely overhauling it. I'm just tweaking it here and there and adding little things. And I'm going to take that out. I'm going to add this back, whatever. But just know it can change. All right. So sometimes that will stop people from doing a vision because they're like, oh, it can't change. I have to decide exactly how my life's going to be right now. No, you don't. You have to just decide for right now what feels good. And later you can change it if it doesn't feel good. So just know that going in. So your A task is to create some sort of a clear written statement of, this is really what I want my life and my business to look like. From there, then take that vision and map it out into a monthly focus goal. And again, these can change, but if we're going to talk strategy and time management, this is where a lot of people just don't do any of this work. So your next A task is to say, well, let me take the vision and let me look at the 12 months of the year and let me just kind of outline, what do I feel like, feels good? Well, let's say your sales process, let's say you don't have one. Okay. Month number 1, I need a sales process. Maybe I need a marketing process. Maybe I need to hire somebody. Maybe I need to, if you've been in business for a while, maybe I need to optimize my profitability. All kinds of things that you're going to be working on in the business. And so I kind of just like to create a monthly strategy of just my projects. And sometimes you can do it by quarter too. So you might have a quarterly theme and then break that out into the monthly projects. For me and my business this year, it's funny, me and my husband, we went on a 2-week cruise. It was the first time we'd been gone for 2 weeks. It was awesome. We went to the Caribbean. This was in October, several months ago. And it gave me so much time to think. And I loved it. I got off the ship and I was like, holy crap, I got to go change some things in my business. And I really and truly, November, December, January, February, those months were all about automating, optimizing, scale processes, systems to make things run more efficiently. I reduced the manpower required to run my business by about 65% because,
Wow.
and I did that through automation. But before I was running so busy, I'm like, it just didn't take the time to do it. So this is where, when you look at your business, where you're at, you probably have areas where you need to improve your people or your team, your systems and your processes, your money situation, right? Okay. And so you just kind of look at these core areas of your business and then kind of map out, where do I need to improve? So now we've got a simple 1 or 2 page strategy. So when you sit down and it's May, you're like, hey, here's where I'm at. Here's my focus. So now when you sit down and go, where's my 1 hour going to go? You have some idea.
That makes so much sense. When you are going through that, I'm like thinking in my mind, I was like, I've never really taken the time to have such crystal clear vision in what I'm creating. Like some sort of idea, I know where I'm headed, but it's not crystal clear. So I would find myself every day, like you said, I'm super busy, but then at the same time feels like it's kind of all over the place. It's not directed, like laser focus on moving the needle forward at a certain like direction.
Yeah.
So I am definitely, sounds like my A task, then I need to do my vision statement.
Yeah.
That's
going to be first.
Yeah. And then, okay, so like to summarize that process for the listeners, and hopefully you guys will join me tonight and do the vision statement. So like that's first step, really having that clarity on how we want our business and our life to look like. And that could be 1 to 2 pages statement, and have fun with it. I was already thinking of all kinds of fun ideas. And then we want to map out the vision by like monthly monthly or quarterly goal. And we create like a strategy for each goal, right?
Yeah. And the strategy, so here's the thing, like people are like, oh, you need a business plan. Okay. And if you're going to go to a bank for financing, yes, you need a business plan. But this is one of the big mistakes I made earlier on, is like, I would spend all this time on a business plan, and then it would, and it's 25 pages, and then it gets stuck in a drawer and nobody looks at it. And it's just not effective. So this is why even on your monthly strategy, 1 or 2 pages with the months mapped out. And honestly, it's just kind of where you feel like this is where I'd like to spend my time. But as you go through it, you're going to update this every month, and you're going to be looking at it. And when I started automating my business, or working on further automation, I was like, oh, it's probably going to take me a month. And then I'm like 3 months into it, because I kept finding all these other areas where I could improve and make it better, I moved my software over to Infusionsoft. Holy crap, like that's a huge project. So things took a little longer. And so, but that was okay. I just kind of adjusted and moved some things back because I was in it and I needed to keep going. And of course, in the big picture, it's going to really pay off in the long term. So don't be like super rigid with it. You grow and evolve and change. And I believe your vision and your goals should do that too.
So basically just having like that basic framework that at least like guide us, have like a those, what do you call it when you go swimming, those lanes that guide you?
Like those lanes. Exactly. Exactly. Like if you don't have a solid marketing strategy with 3 to 5 sources of lead generation, there we go. Work on that. Like if you don't have that yet, if you're just sitting around like waiting for referrals and hope, okay, that's a problem. So let's go get, 3 to 5 sources of lead generation in our marketing. Once people come in, they opt into your list or whatever. Do you have a sales process? How do we convert them from a prospect to a client? Operations, how do we deliver? How do we support? How do we manage the money? Like just kind of go through the flow of your business. This is one of the things I do a lot in my business coaching, is we just go top to bottom through the business. And depending on where you're at in business, like if you're just starting, your whole thing might just be selling because you need to get to your first 6 figures. If you're at 7 figures, it might be getting to the next level of 7 figures. And for you in your business, it's going to be completely different, but the process is the same. looking at the business, identifying the areas that need improvement, and kind of making some sort of a map to follow as you go through the year.
Got it. Okay, so that clears a little bit up about the monthly strategy, because I think like sometimes people can feel like a little intimidated by thinking that they got to come up with strategy, but like what you mentioned, Jennifer, it's having that fluid flexibility around it. It helps ease off that intimidation. And then we want to, once we have these clarity on these, the vision and then the monthly goal, the monthly strategy, that's when we can every day we know what to focus on in that hour, in that chunk of time. Okay, so can we use me as an example really quickly to implement this?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so I have some, I mean, I don't have the 1 to 2 page vision yet, but I know some idea of where I want my direction to go. So what I envision to really seeing me do in the next like couple weeks to months is really to start working with clients who are super ambitious. They have a heart calling vision, and they are standing in their own way. So I would love to support them on being able to cultivate more self-love, more femininity, to learn how to receive, and also cultivate spirituality to connect with the higher power. That's my vision. So now I guess we break it down to the monthly goal.
Yeah, absolutely. So the vision is, so it sounds like you have clarity on the kind of work you want to do, the kind of people that you want to work with, which is fantastic. From there, you could refine it just a little bit more if it's fun and it feels good. You know, how many hours a day do you want to work? How many days a week? What role in the business? Because you're going to have other administrative tasks. Like, do you want to do your own books, or do you want to outsource your bookkeeping? Do you want to hire an administrative assistant, a VA, or do you want to be like a one-woman show? In this business, I decided I wanted to be a one-woman show, no employees, but I have lots of contractors. And that was just how I wanted to structure my company. Is I didn't want, I didn't want employees. I've had them, love them, fine. But for this business, it just didn't quite feel right. So I got really clear on the structure of my business was that I was going to use contract help. And that was going to be it, no employees. And so you can kind of start to think about this. In the vision, I would put in there where you want to go revenue wise. So you like your first revenue goal. Often, and I'm just throwing numbers out there, but often sometimes when you're first starting up, you know, your first revenue goal might be hit 6 figures. It might be like, okay, I'm making my 100,000 or 250,000 or whatever that number is. Now, if you set a revenue goal, guys, everybody listening, and you say, hey, okay, I want to make, you know, 250,000 in revenues this year. A lot of people, what they'll do is they'll then take the 250, divide it by 12 and go, okay, so now every month I have to be, you know, generating $25,000 in revenue. Well, if you're new and you're just starting, that's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. And so people will set that the bar too high. And it doesn't work. And so if you're starting, wherever you're starting, whether you're at 100 and trying to get to 250 or 250 trying to go to million, okay, you've got to be realistic in the goal. And so if you're starting by nothing and your revenues every month, or let's say $1,000, so your next goal needs to be 2,000. And then from there, it might go to 3,000 and then 5,000, right? You've got to set those realistic expectations, because if you set that bar too high, you're going to sabotage yourself before you even get going. Right. So once you've kind of gotten a little clear, just a little more details, a little more fleshed out on the vision, then from there, you're going to map out what you want to work on each month. Okay. So if you're brand new, let's say you're brand new. So the first probably quarter, I would be focusing on getting clients, right? Like that would be the focus, is get clients, because things like bookkeeping aren't really going to matter if you haven't made any money yet. And so sell like hell when you're first starting out, like that's really your goal. So this is where you're, you know, working on your marketing and guys, it doesn't mean that you're just like posting on social media 45 times a day. That's not going to get the job done. Like you've got to be out there networking. You've got to be speaking. You've got to be tapping into your referral network. You on LinkedIn, you're blogging, you're a podcast guest, you know, there's all these other things that you can do to get exposure to like get clients. And so this is where when you're mapping out your months, it might be, all right, so month one, I'm going to really focus on networking. I'm attending networking meetings. I'm tapping into my existing client network. I'm tapping into the existing clients I have. I'm asking them for referrals. Like, and then that's your weekly tasks, right? Those become your A tasks is, all right, I want to go network and I don't know where the heck to go. Okay, great. So then the next A task is find a networking meeting, find 5 of them, right? And then get your butt in the car and go. Now we can't right now, but you know what I mean?
Yes.
So that's where like the monthly focus is networking. The final outcome is to get clients so that I can meet my revenue goals and take my business where I want it to be. So the first month, I'm going to focus on networking. Now let me break that down. Let me break that down. So each day when I'm showing up and saying, all right, what's my hour today? Well, it's going to be about networking. And so this is what I meant by the A task, that you're going to want to procrastinate it. You're going to want to make excuses not to do it because it's like, we all know we should be out there networking, but we're not networking. And we're coming up with all these reasons why we shouldn't. But that's why in that hour, you're like, I'm going to find a networking group. And maybe the first day, the first hour, it's researching groups. Maybe the next day, my A task is to sign up for one, put it in my calendar, go figure out what the heck I'm going to wear, get my business cards printed, right? That's what we're talking about with the A task. Does that make more sense?
Yeah, it makes total sense. And I think this makes things a lot more interesting and exciting. It's kind of like you have a goal every like week, every month that you're working on. It just gives a lot more structure because I feel like as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, everything is up to us to decide. And we're so used to like listening for direction from our teachers, our parents. And when we are in 100% control, like I struggle with this. I would procrastinate. I would keep myself busy, but I'm not actually like focused on anything. So like now I feel like I'm just thinking of all these fun ideas that I can. So I think of it as creating an overall theme for the month that I can really hone in on, focus on. And as long as like every day I am laser focused on that chunk of time, then even though if I don't like see results right away, then I know that at least I did my job. Like I did my work for that day. So I think that also helped build up the confidence level.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
And you made a really, really good point. Sometimes we'll keep ourselves busy to distract ourselves from the fact that we're not making progress, or we're not doing what we're supposed to be doing, or just so we feel better because it's like, I'm busy. And that's when you really want to check in on the whole busy thing, because actually I don't want you busy. I want you, happily engaged and taking action, but I don't want you busy all the time. I want you having downtime. I want you in your life. I want you enjoying all the elements of your life. And when you're, quote, busy, I want that time to actually be pushing you forward. Now, it doesn't mean every action you take in the A task time is going to yield something, but really there's no downside to action. When you're taking action, it's sending a clear message. You're setting your intention. You're telling the universe, I'm serious. Like you're getting that forward momentum going. So don't think all your actions are going to pay off. They won't. But if you do this consistently, enough of them will, that you will be busy with all the doors and the opportunities and the things that you start opening when you really start getting serious about this.
Yeah, I'm just really seeing the power behind that, like that mental, emotional benefit that comes from it. Because like I mentioned earlier, for a long time, I feel like, I'm not doing enough, and I feel like I am just not creating results, and then I would have lack of confidence. But like just by doing that every day, like knowing that I put in that chunk of time every day without the results that I can see yet, like I know it's going. I know I'm like planting the seeds, and I know I'm nurturing it. So that in a way just gives me a little mental boost, like a mental confidence boost, to know that I am taking the forward momentum, like you mentioned. I love that,
Yes.
that phrase. Okay, cool. So Jennifer, that's the process, right? So like to create a vision, 1 to 2 page statement, and then break it down, monthly goals, monthly strategy, so that we know what to focus on every single day. Is there any piece that we are missing in that process?
No, that's basically, one process,
Mm-hmm.
and you've got wiggle room in and out of it, but I mean, let's keep it easy and simple, right?
Mm-hmm.
I like things that are super simple. They're super powerful. You're much, much more likely to do it. Just know you can kind of set the bar where you need to be. And truly, it's really important not to be grinding away 10, 12 hours a day, because your energy is going to be really low when you are setting the bar and saying, you know what, I'm going to spend 1 hour, 2 hours, whatever it is, working on my business. Like if you're new in business, you're going to have those couple hours a day. If your business is already at 6, 7, whatever figures, you're not going to have that much time, because you're going to be running your business. So just set that bar wherever it needs to be. But the structure is basically the same, is dedicating time every day to really moving those goals forward. But if you haven't spent the time to get clear on them, it's just going to be hard to find direction, because it's just going to be, well, what can I come up with today to work on? Yeah.
Yeah, I've been there.
Yeah, I can tell by that smile. It's like, oh, she knows exactly what I'm talking about.
And I'm sure a lot of our listeners can
Oh
relate
yeah,
to this.
I've been there. I've been there.
But Jennifer, so here's my question for you. I feel like the answer, I feel like I know the answer, but so by doing this process, does it naturally free up so much more time for us to take care of ourselves?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because if you've already thought out, and here's the thing, you guys, like with the vision, don't rush it. Like if it takes you a week, heck, if it takes you a month, I'd rather see you spend a month getting really clear on where you want to go than spend 10 years wandering aimlessly. Okay. And you can lose years if you're not really clear on and focused on your direction. And so spend the time that you need on the vision, because now you've got clarity, you've got focus, you've got direction. From there, it's just a matter of really getting in there and executing. And it's going to save you so much time. If you put a little more time in it on the front end, it's going to save you gobs of time on the back end.
I love what you said. How did you say it? So take your time in working out a vision, so you don't waste years wandering aimlessly.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what you said. That was good.
So it will save you time if you think about it on the front end. And I'm also a very spiritual person. I'm not really religious, but I'm very spiritual, and I feel very connected to the universe and energy and all of these things. And so when we talk about business strategy, it's, it's going to be like very analytical, very left brain. I can't remember which is which, but I think it's the left brain is the analytical side. It's very analytical, and sometimes people don't want to do the strategy work because it'll shut down their creativity. And what I want you to do is I want you to tap into your creativity. I want you to tap into your intuition. Yes, you're doing your strategy, but how does it feel? How does your vision feel when you're looking at your year and you're mapping out your months? Like this is how I really do it. I do it from my gut and my intuition, and I get really connected, and I make it a fun thing. And it's like, okay, what do I need to do to move this business forward? So don't be afraid of the strategy piece. Don't let it be scary, and be creative with it, and really tap into your intuition. I think that's super important, of where you feel like, that business needs to go when you're working on this.
This is so funny, Jennifer. I feel like you're reading my mind, because that's what shows up. I'm like, oh my gosh, strategy. I don't want to think strategy, because I'm a very creative person. I'm super spiritual. So like business strategy kind of tends to intimidate me. But I love how you say to just go, make it fun, like go with what feels good. And really just play with it. Use our creativity to create that strategy. It doesn't have to be something very like logical and boring and all that. Yeah,
it doesn't. I had a teacher, I'll share it with you really quickly, share a great exercise. And so she would use the idea of fishing. And so, okay, so we're going to go fishing, and we're going to cast our pole out and we're reel it in, and what comes up. And so when you're looking at your goals, it's like, oh, okay, so let me go fishing in my business. So what comes up? Well, it might be more clients. Maybe, oh, I'm going to cast my pole, and what comes up? Well, maybe it's higher profitability. Maybe it's lower cost of goods sold. Maybe it's a better team. Maybe it's more processes, right? So you can make this super fun and super creative. I don't know why that fishing exercise, it always sticks in my head.
Cute.
And it's just like, what do you want? I'm like, let me just, cast that pole and reel it in and go, what do I pull up? And, for a big part of this year has just been automation in my business and just making things run really, like clockwork. But again, it will depend on where you are in business as to what the right next steps are for you. And if you're not sure, just like reach out and get help. This is the thing with entrepreneurs. We think we have to figure it all out on our own, and we can't ask for help or it'll make us look bad, and it's baloney. Reach out and get help. That will shorten your curve so much when you're trying to like figure all this stuff out.
Absolutely. And if listeners listening right now, you guys are at the right community, like just utilizing these resources can really be a huge game changer for you, but only if you implement. So Jennifer, I just have a quick question about the vision piece. So when you say a vision, like are we creating a vision for like a 1 year span, or is it a whole entire life's vision?
People will do different things. I've heard of somebody doing 100-year vision. I'm like, that's a little far for me.
Yeah.
People do 10 years, people do 5 years. I say try to go out at least in the 3 to 5 year neighborhood. But and some people are like, no problem. Some people really struggle. So if you really struggle, take it out a year. If you just can't go any further, then at least go a year, but shoot for 3 to 5 years.
Okay.
That tends to be a good frame of time. And remember, you can always update it and change it as you go along, and you will.
So sounds like really just like having the structure, but at the same time be fluid, being like flexible, or that. Okay, cool. I love this. I'm going to get to work on creating my vision. My brain power is also in the morning, so I love like waking up, meditating, and sitting down with my cup of tea and just do some journaling. So I think that's the time I'm going to create and really get some good ideas coming in.
That's perfect.
Yeah. So okay, is there anything else we're missing, Jennifer, in this action implementation portion of the...
No, not in what we've talked about. I think we've talked about a lot. So hopefully everybody listening has gotten a ton of great takeaways that they can actually now take and implement. I know you were listening because you heard it. It was like, we can listen and we can learn, but now we have to go try it. And, don't worry about messing up. Don't worry about not getting it right. Just, just try. Just show up and work on that vision, map those goals out, start doing your A task every day, and just play around with it. And if it feels too big and overwhelming, just lower the bar. This is the thing about getting into a habit of time management, because what happens is we're just in the habit of really bad time management, and that's the habit that we're in. So we want to start to create really good time management habits. And when you're making a new habit, it's more important to show up and be consistent than the time you're spending on it. So like, for example, if you never plan your day, right? You just get up and you just start doing whatever. And you say, I want to start planning my day. So you're going to get up and you're going to say, for 2 minutes, I'm going to plan my day. And you go for 2 minutes. It's such a small amount, like everybody can do 2 minutes. And the next day you do 2 minutes. And the next day you do 2 minutes. And you just keep doing that until you just naturally feel like, well, I'm here. Let me do 5 minutes, and then 10 minutes, right? And then after about 10 or 15 minutes, you're probably pretty good. But now you've built the habit. So just lower the bar, show up, and be consistent every single day, even if it's only for a few minutes, and then gradually increase it. And that's really how we make a new habit.
I like how you say that. So consistency is more important than like how much time we put into, especially when we're starting out with that habit. Good point. So it's kind of like make it less intimidating to get started with a whole new behavior pattern. So I think this is a good way to transition into the next part. So Jennifer, I know you have your best planner ever. And I think that could be a really good tool to facilitate with this process of time management. So I bet our listeners would continue to love to like stay connected with you, find you, use your planner. So how can they find you online?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can find me at, as you mentioned, my planner, Best Planner Ever. So all one word, bestplannerever.com. Or you can visit me on my coaching website, which is jenniferdawncoaching.com. And you can find me both of those places. They all get back to me if you fill out any of the contact forms. But the planner, everything that we talked about here today, the planner really backs that up in a simple daily tool. And I have a full planning page for each day. And you'll see at the top, it says, the very top of the page of my planner, it says, read and align with my vision statement. So there's like a reminder on every day. Why? Because I needed it. So I put it in my planner so that I would have these things, right?
Yeah.
And so you're not going to see that in most planners. So it's very unique to kind of what we've talked about today, where there's a daily reminder to read your vision statement. There's blank pages at the front of the planner to make a vision board, to put your vision statement in there. There's pages to map out your goals. There's a section. I'm looking here. Here's what I'm cheating. I'm looking at the planner and I'm going, okay. And then we've got my affirmation, right? My affirmation for today. What's my intention? What do I want to commit to today? And then you've got the ABCD on the to-do list. It's not just a massive to-do list. So you don't have to remember some of this stuff. You just have to remember, oh, A means, what am I going to spend time on moving my business forward today? My B's are my busy work. I'm going to do that stuff no matter what. C can be done whenever. And D is delegate. We're business owners. We have to delegate some things off too. You've got a meal tracker, an exercise tracker, because I think self-care is so important. I put it on the page. So you really get to kind of plan your whole life in the planner. So if what we spoke about today really resonates with you, check out the planner, because it's just that daily tool to back it up. So you don't have to remember all this stuff. It's just sort of right in front of you. And it's like, okay, I like things easy. I mentioned that. I like things easy and simple, and I don't want to have to remind myself. I want it right in front of me. And so that's what does the reminders and builds those habits kind of automatically.
Oh, I need to get my hands on one of those. I love planners. I love planners so much. And it's so helpful. And it's just like, like you mentioned, everything is in the one place. Like even having like a notebook, it's not enough because it's blank. You gotta figure out what to put on there. So having that facilitate is definitely super useful. And last but not least, Jennifer, I know you're really passionate about serving entrepreneurs and leaders, like people listening right now, on how to take their success to the next level. So I know you prepared something special to offer to the listener, just for as a thank you for them to listen in. So you can go ahead and share that.
Yeah, absolutely. So what I'm doing is I'm giving away the first 5 chapters of my book, which is called The Joy Guide, Finding Your Joy in a World of Crap. And as part of those first 5 chapters, there is actually a well-being assessment in there that kind of starts this process of looking at your life without judgment, getting clear on the different areas of your life. You actually go through an exercise where you score yourself, which is kind of fun. So if you've never done a vision statement, the well-being assessment is such a great place to start, because it starts you thinking about the areas of your life. You score yourself, you ask yourself, what would it take to bring this area of my life up to a 10? So if you go through and you take the well-being assessment and you take it seriously, you're actually starting to create a vision statement. So that's free in the first 5 chapters of the book. So that's my free gift for everybody.
Yay, super exciting. So I will have all the links to the free gift, to Jennifer, where you can find her online. All the links will be in the same exact email that you found this interview on. So just go back and make sure to go right after this interview to get your hands on that, do that assessment, so that you have a picture of, like, at least you know where you're at right now, so you know where you can go. I know I've got tons of homework to do. I'm gonna go do that. And I just want to take this time to say thank you so much, Jennifer. This has been really helpful for me personally, and I am sure our listeners have taken away tons of nuggets, and I do hope that they implement, and I know they will, so that they can also create powerful results in their life. So thank you, Jennifer.
You're so
And
welcome.
thank you, everyone, for tuning in. I will see you tomorrow. All right, take care.